So Nolan, where were you at in the business 30 days ago?
30 days ago, I was at 1,500 a month.
Okay, with like one client, right?
Yeah.
Okay, where are you at now 30 days later?
Yeah. 30 days later, I am about at 14.5K a month.
Okay, got it. Now here's the question. What do you think was, if you could pick one, the biggest thing or the biggest pivot that you made in your business that allowed for that to happen?
So yeah, before I joined this program, I didn't really have a niche or a target audience and offer anything like that was really dialed to a specific person. But after talking with you and having the coaching calls with you and really understanding like that you need to have a niche and a specific offer to your target audience, I was able to lock in on online coaches specifically. I found that that's the niche that I really resonated with, and I was able to go from 1,500 a month all the way up to 14.5K a month within the span of like 30 days.
Now, in a nutshell, and that's crazy, in a nutshell, like maybe one or two sentences, why would you say it's so important to pick a niche and to choose one market?
I'd say the reason why it's crucial to lock in on a specific niche is because you can.
I wanted to use this call to kind of just dive into like your journey. When did you join? How long ago was it?
I want to say it was in
It's been a
late
minute.
January or February.
So we'll say like 5-ish months then, give or take.
Yeah, I think
Cool.
so.
Okay, so everyone watching, I'm sure, is in a similar position that you were in. And the unfortunate reality about like this business model is most people are it's like, the term feast and famine. Most of the time it's like you'll get crazy deals, but then, if we don't focus on retention and we don't like spend a good amount of time on the actual service itself and our systems and back end and it's also kind of just the nature of the game, people tend to fall off. Right. It's like why you see so many people join like programs, for example, and then they'll post wins and be like, all these crazy wins, but then a couple months later, they'll be back to where they were before. And that's no fun. That's not the business we're trying to build. So you're in a good spot now. You had some wins recently. Now the focus is what moving forward?
Honestly, I'd say the focus is just client fulfillment and reducing churn on those clients because of those big deals that I just recently closed.
Yep. So I'm excited for that, right? Because now we're in a spot where you can kind of just focus on what you have, which isn't a lot. It's like a few clients, but over delivering and making sure that like we have our systems dialed, which I think is gonna be the biggest focus, which is what I'm excited about for 2.0 getting rolled out. I just had a call with Ocean this morning. It's fire, dude. Like his section alone is really good. So I'm excited for that rollout because it's like perfect timing for your app. But anyway, let's start from the beginning, shall we? And then I want to talk about the journey that you've taken because you've been in a couple programs, and I know you've learned a lot from them. Like I know some of those ones that you were in, and like they're solid programs. Now that you're in this one, I'd love to kind of chat about like specifically. We'll start maybe a few years back, your overall journey, and then specifically we'll dive into the last 5 months and what you've kind of picked up, implemented, and changed since then that you think was like a big game changer for you, and see if we can have any takeaways. Sound good?
Yeah, totally.
Cool, dude. So if you could, and obviously, don't name names, but over the past couple of years, just walk me through like your overall journey. Like when did you start your video production agency in the first place?
Yeah, so I started my company, Mortske Media, in I believe it was 2021. It might even been 2022. I started it after working at a media company for a year, and the reason why I started it is because I essentially started their media production side in that company. They were originally a shipping and handling company. They had like an animator, and they wanted to really dive deeper into the videography, photography sector and try and get more clients in that route. So I was the main guy who I guess built that up, and I realized after working there for a year, like realistically, everything I'm doing here, I can just do on my own. So why didn't I do that? I can probably make more money, and I obviously do now. So that's how I initially got into like the game of entrepreneurship.
What was this company that you worked with? Was it an agency? Was it?
It was like they did a lot of shipping and handling and like stuff like that for Medicare and like medical companies and stuff like that. Like GE, I think they worked with a little bit of like shipping out some like technology stuff. And they had an animator, so they did some animations for GE, and they wanted to dive deeper into like doing photography for GE and like, taking product photos and stuff like that. So that's what we did
And
there.
you were there for how long?
I was there for a year.
About a year. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's funny. I was in a kind of similar position. So like I think it's smart for a lot of guys. Like if you're just starting out, like go learn on somebody else's dime. Like go work for another company as like W-2, learn as much as you possibly can, then you can pivot out and do your own thing, which is like the same thing that I did too. Like working for Black Rifle and then working as a media director, like the skill sets I developed there was like really good for foundational stuff. And then
Yeah.
you can leap pretty. So it sounds like that's what you did then. So what was that pivot out? What did that look like? Did you line up some clients in the interim and then jump out when you already had clientele, or like how did that happen?
Yeah, so funny enough, like while I was working with that company, I still had Mortske Media, like what my company is now, but it wasn't what it is now. Like I didn't even understand business at
Yeah.
all. I just had like, my little side thing of doing photos and stuff for people. And I was at the time really into automotive photography. So I met like a lot of people and shot a lot of their cars and stuff like that. And one of the car owners happened to work for a company that focused on media and building websites for restaurants. So after talking with that guy and talking with the company that I worked at, we kind of like intertwined everything together. So I got that company a client, and we did a ton of restaurant photo shoots and video shoots, and that's kind of how we picked up like the video and photo side. So they got more revenue coming in, and especially working there, I realized like I was like, okay, so the company that I brought in for them, like I can just cut out and not be the middleman for them anymore and just take all of the profit instead. So that's kind of what I did, and yeah, I'm glad it did. So that's essentially how I pivoted out. Was I just took that client essentially from the media company that I was with, or the shipping and handling company,
Gotcha.
um,
Okay.
and it was more of like it wasn't like a retainer or anything like that, but they had a lot of like volume and consistent work. So I was doing probably like a video shoot and a photo shoot of a restaurant, like I'd say 5 times a week. So it was a hustle for sure, and it really helped me like build up some of my savings and understand like, okay, if I get more clients, I can get more money, and then that's when I started investing into programs and stuff, and then really understanding the business side of it, because I knew how to make cool videos, but it's like, all right, what am I going to do with cool videos? How do I actually make money from it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you like immediately just start investing straight into programs? Like, did you just go straight from there to like into coaching?
Pretty much, yeah. So I saved up a little bit and I joined this one program from this dude in like he's British or something like that. I found him through YouTube videos, and I invested, I think it was like 1,500 or something like that.
Mhm.
And that basically opened the floodgates of knowledge for me, and I was like, "Oh, if I just spend money, I can learn all this stuff and grow faster." So that's
Yeah.
kind of what happened with me. But I've been in like a total of 3 or 4 programs, I'd say. Kind of specific like this.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've definitely learned a lot from each one of them, but I think kind of the way that it's run for me is like they've all just been stepping stones and helping me like fully lock in on like business in general and like my understanding of business, because everybody teaches in different ways and they have their own opinions and
Mhm.
what they say to their clients and stuff like that. So I was able to pick and choose like the main things that resonated and related most to my business, and was able to get me to where I'm at now, which is a lot more consistent with who I'm targeting and feeling more convicted in how I can help them.
Yeah, for sure. I want to take a minute because like and just be real and raw with this, because I think way too many people will have like way too many coaches or like make videos like this and make it all shiny, and it's like, oh, you jumped in, like start making a bunch of money right out the gate, like everything was sunshine and rainbows if you just pay me. But like let's be real, because I also want people to be very like one cool thing about like the interview I did with Colton and with Tyler and with these other guys is like people give feedback to be like it was super relatable because I learned a lot. But you also talked about like what they struggled with and what they went through. That is
Mhm.
also a learning experience, right? Because at the end of the day, when people spend money on a program, it's not the ace in the hole. Like just because you spend the money doesn't mean you're all of a sudden going to make a lot of money. And I think you're qualified to give an opinion on that too, because you've bought into multiple programs. It sounds like they've all been would you say they've all been a good investment for you? Like have they all
I'd
been
say,
worth the money?
yeah, I'd say for
Okay.
the most part. I mean, some of them, the like help that I needed wasn't as strong as in others, which is why I think I kept jumping
Yeah.
from program to program. But it wasn't because I wasn't taking action or anything like that, which is what some people might be doing. Like no matter what the like coach said, I always did it, but
Hmm.
sometimes it just it didn't fully work or make the most sense.
Dude, that's one thing I will say too is like, so on that note of not everything is sunshine and rainbows, you've been in for a few months and it took a while. Like you're someone that's dude, you're really good at what you do and you have really good case studies. Like on paper, there's no reason why you shouldn't be making at least like 10 grand a month every single month. On the low end. But you had a little bit of a drought period. And So walk me through just a little bit of what that looked like, because I think there's a huge learning opportunity and experience there, because you came in and we started working together. And here's what I will say. There's like 50 people in the program now. So it's still pretty intimate, right? Um, you are one of the few that actually takes action. Like you actually do everything we will tell you to do. Like we're like, go do XYZ, you go do it that same day or the next day. And so because of that, I was like, all right, you're not getting the results we initially wanted. So like, I'm going to continue working with you until we do, because like you should not, as long as you just that's the goal of the program. I want it to be so good, and that's why we have a guarantee now that I just implemented. I want it to be so good that like if you do everything we tell you to do and you don't at a minimum get the result that you're looking to get to, which on our end is like at a minimum make your money back on the low end, but if you don't at least get the result that we tell you to do and you take action, like we're going to keep working with you for free until you do, right? Because you're holding up your end of the bargain, right? You're holding up your end of the deal, so it's like we're going to make sure we do ours as well. And I remember, dude, you and I think one other guy, I won't say his name, one other guy went through a similar experience several months ago where it was like 2 to 3 months of kind of just drought. That was really weird. We really didn't know what was going on. But I kept telling you over and over again, and I know it's easier said than done because you're the one going through it, not me. But I remember telling you over and over again, I was like, bro, keep the hammer down, keep pushing, keep taking action, keep implementing. And I'll tell you what, and this might sound kind of like a cliche, cheesy quote, but it's so true. Gladiators aren't made in the heat of the arena. They're made in the training sessions over and over and over again that nobody sees. And the fact that you continue to go, I was like, in the back of my head, I wasn't worried at all. Like in the back of my head, I was like, dude, he's gonna get there really fast. And sure enough, it happened within 30 days. Now, this is where a lot of people would get complacent. And I did this too a few years ago. I would start making money and I'd get complacent and be like, oh, dude, I'm chilling. I would lose sight of the vision. And then I'd be like, cool, let me just keep making video. I think this is one of the biggest places agency owners fall off, because getting leads and like getting business and getting like posting like 5K deal close, 4K monthly deal close, like that's not really the hard part. The hard part is retention. The hard part is delivering and separating yourself from every other agency owner out there. So I'm going off on a tangent now, but I want to go back to it. Walk me through a little bit of, if you don't mind, your experience in like the first maybe few months. And then what do you think were some of the biggest changes that you made or things you learned or whatever that you think started to really shift things around, in your opinion?
Yeah. So, when like I first jumped in it, I honestly didn't understand, or I didn't even know about like the IG funnel, and really that whole funnel that you teach in general. So that was like a giant eye opener to me, and I was like, I didn't realize I can just use my Instagram profile as like the main funnel rather than having like go high level and all these other different things, like all these complex like pages and stuff. Like it's not necessary for most businesses. But I'd say like starting out, I did everything, that was in the program of, making the ads, doing the content consistently, optimizing your social media and all that stuff. And it really helped me unlock like the best way to market myself in general, especially when speaking to online coaches. So I think that was a really big plus. But even though I was doing all that, as you know, like nothing was happening for me. Like my ads, they sometimes worked. I got a few people, but oftentimes and they weren't even qualified people, but for the most part, like nothing was working. I even got somebody in prison, as you know, who, who came to my ads, which is really odd. But I mean, I just kept going and I kept going, and eventually it did work because one of the clients that I have now, he came through a referral, so it wasn't through ads or anything specifically, but he came through a referral and he came onto my page and saw how much of a deep understanding I had of creating a personal brand, which is what he wanted to do. So that's why he saw me as more of the professional and more of the expert, and why he is, able to invest so much into his business and invest into me to help him grow his business with personal branding and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's like the biggest takeaway. And like, I guess,
You're working with the chiropractor now too, right?
I am, yeah. And he came through a follower ad. However, it took him, I'd say 2 months of constant, like literally so much,
Nurturing
so
like
much
crazy.
nurturing and like just messaging. Like I'd respond to him. He would take 3 days to respond. I'd message him again. He'd take 3 days to pound of that. Like it was horrible,
Oh
but
yeah.
I stayed persistent. Like I followed up on the leads, I did everything that you recommend, and obviously it paid off. So
Yeah. What about this other? What's up with him? Is he getting back to you?
yeah, no, he fell off. I don't know what happened to him, and honestly, I'm fine with it. Like I don't think
Yeah,
he
dude,
would
you're
have
good
been.
now. It's like just focus on what we have now, and then and then maybe get more clients down the road once systems are in place.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's one thing you don't want to do is like scale too fast, right? You're in like such a good position. Like what 14,
yeah,
15 a month is like really good to really focus on the current clientele, over deliver, establish the systems, get that stuff in place. Then once you're relieved a bit from the business, then we focus on additional acquisition. And the good news is after testing, and like this is also the name of the game. Like you got to test ads, you got to figure out like what is going to work and what doesn't. Once you figure out what works and you know why it works, then you just put more
yeah,
fuel in the fire, right? And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think what worked really well for you was niching down locally, being really
yeah.
clear with like coaches, consultants, experts, and then testing social funnel plus maybe some lead form. Like I think that's a good like that's the sauce that once you're ready, put more money into it. That's going to work really well. Like if you do the numbers between those specific campaigns, your customer acquisition cost is like stupid low,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, especially now with the clients that came in, if I'm making 14.5K a month,
Yeah,
and like I think I probably spent overall my lifetime on ads probably like 2,000 or 3,000, and
sure,
that was
yeah,
over like multiple years. So, yeah, it's decent for sure. But
yeah,
yeah, no, I'd say that niching down to online coaches for sure is great, but I wasn't getting great results nationwide. So yeah, niching both online coaches, consultants, experts, and niching into my like city
mhm,
is what really helped. And that's how I got the chiropractor, because I was speaking. I broadened it up just a little bit locally.
yeah. How important is it? Actually, two questions. Let me ask the first one, then I'll go to the next one.
Okay.
One of the biggest things that I see guys struggle with is picking a niche. That's like one of the biggest barriers to
Oh
entry at
yeah.
the very beginning. Um, can you, because like it's one thing for me to talk about it. Tell me your experience on that. Like, what would you say to somebody? Because this is probably most people watching that are just kind of generic, I'll make videos.
Yeah.
Why is it go in depth on like why is it so important to niche down? And two, like what was your process to discovering that niche for yourself?
Yeah, so I'll break down first like the process of how I got to my niche specifically. And it was not easy. Like it's not going to
Yeah.
be, it might be for you, for whoever's watching this, but for me it was hell for like 2 weeks, I'd say, of like really dialing it in. And the reason that I knew I needed to make a change or to find someone who understood like niching kind of like you do, was because I went to the Hermosi event in Vegas, and I was talking with all of his professionals that he has there, so all of his team and like KLO and all those guys. And I asked the same question to all of them. I was like, I right now am a video marketing agency and I help service based businesses. Should I niche further down? And I got like literally so many answers across the board on if I should niche down, if I should stay where I'm
Mm,
at, if I should broaden up. It was like, it just wasn't helping me really from what they were saying, but it
interesting.
in a way it did help me because I knew that I needed to really find the answer. And so I went on a hunt, and then I came across you on Instagram one day. So, um, and then, we talked, and, you gave me that whole like document of like, how to pick your niche and how to go about that. And like, um, I think it only took me like maybe 2 or 3 days after seeing that document. That's how much time like was condensed just after that document. But beforehand, it was like a solid 2 weeks after that Hormozy event, and just like trying to understand like, okay, should I broaden into where I'm at now, which is online coaches? Should I stay at service based businesses? Like, how do I make an offer for everyone? Like, I was running through so many different questions. Um, so it's not going to be easy, but the way that I was able to niche down into online coaches specifically is, at least my process, and I think kind of what you showcase is like, first pick a niche that you'll actually want to stick with and actually enjoy working with. I think that's the biggest thing, because like, I don't want to work with like plumbers or something like that. Like maybe I could get them good results, but it's like that's just not my interest. So the reason why I picked online coaches specifically is because that's just how I've grown myself, is through mentors and other online coaches. So I really resonated with that because I know a lot of people give coaches and mentors, all those type of people online, like a really bad rep and think they're all sleazy and all that stuff. But I mean, that's how I've been able to grow my business to where I'm at now. So I was like, okay, if I'm able to help more online coaches, help people like me, it's a win-win both ways. So that's really what it was. So I just locked in
Yeah.
on online coaches.
Yeah, it's funny. That's like a
Um,
really similar process to what I did with my agency. It's like
yeah,
um, I ended up working with a coach, and a couple things. One, we got really good results for him because they
that's
were
what.
already
Yeah,
running ads. We created new creative for him, and like I was able to see a direct return on the videos. And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's not just, oh yeah, the videos looked really awesome, and like maybe we
yeah,
got a lead or two, but it was like, dude, we went from 7 dollar leads to 70 cent leads, effectively taking the business from 90K a month to a quarter million. And it's like,
mm,
that's trackable. That's data. I like that. And then they went and immediately came back and bought like 5 more videos. And then we did the same
yeah,
thing with another coach in Dubai and like selling online info. And I ended up falling in love with it because of one, I was able to see really good results that are trackable from it. Two, I was good at it because I just like the info space. Because
yeah,
I've personally spent probably over 50 G's just on like coaching and mentors and programs and stuff
yeah,
like that. Which is why I'm doing it because I believe in it so much. And so
yeah.
it just made sense for me, right? So, what would you say to someone that maybe doesn't have? 'Cause I'm trying to take into account everyone's like unique position. What would you
Hmm.
say to somebody that's maybe they have one or two retainers, but they've only worked with like maybe two or three industries, and none of them are really like, yeah, they're cool, but they're not like exactly what I think I love. Like, what would you say to somebody in terms of how they should figure out their niche when they're in a position like that?
Yeah, so that's also a big part too of what I was struggling with is because I worked with service-based businesses and there's like that's a whole spectrum of people. So I looked at
Yeah.
it and I saw who I got the best results for, and then which was online coaches because I had one online coach at the time and I got him 160K in 2 months. So I was like, okay, why don't I just double down on that niche? You know what I mean? Um, so that's how I chose it specifically, and I think that's a helpful way to go about it is like if you're working with like maybe two or three different clients right now and there might be in different industries, like for one, who do you like working with the best, and two, who do you think you can get the best results for?
Mhm.
Because you can get all these clients coming in and stuff like that, but if you can't actually deliver for them, your churn rate's going to be like through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, and if somebody's in a position where, like, first of all, you need to understand that there is no perfect niche. Rarely, like
Oh
maybe there is, but the stars are not going to align like you want them to. It's not going to be
yeah,
like that's the one, right? 99% of the time, you're not going to be 100% clear. You just got to pick it and then commit. But another reason why it's so important to niche down is because, and I use this analogy all the time. Let's assume, and I'll be quick with this, but let's assume there's a gym owner and there's you and then your competitor. You walk up to the gym owner and you're like, hey, Mr. Gym Owners, my name's Ridge and I make video assets for different service-based businesses across the valley. Like, I'd love to come in and make video assets for you to grow the business. Would you be interested in having a conversation? And then your competitor, number two, Johnny, comes in and he's like, hey, what's up, Mr. Gym Owner? My name's Johnny. I've got a video production agency. We specialize in working with gyms here locally, just like this one and this one. And we actually specialize in helping create video assets and paid ads to bring in additional 40 to 50 new clients every single month. Would you be interested in having a conversation? We're looking to bring on one more client this month. Like, which one are they going to be more interested in working with?
yeah,
Obviously the second guy, because like he
right,
specifically works with those people. And so a lot of times people will be like, I don't want to niche because they have a fear of, well, if I niche down, I'm leaving out all these other potential opportunities to make money and all this other market. It's like, yes and no. Like you don't want to work with everyone in the market because your messaging is going to fall on deaf ears if you're just like, hey, local businesses in this area, right?
yeah,
Versus, hey, car dealerships looking to achieve X outcome in Y time frame. We're looking to bring
right,
on two more clients. Like, do you want to be that? You know what I mean? So one, your
yeah,
messaging improves, and two, your delivery and your outcomes of the actual service you provide is going to provide better results because you understand not just your avatar to a T, but you understand your avatar's avatar. And you
yeah,
understand exactly how to get them results because every business is uniquely different. So at the end of the day, if you want to actually make money as a video agency, you can't just make videos.
yeah.
What other skill sets do you think are important to have if you want to actually be profitable in it, aside from making cool videos?
Yeah, I think one of like the things that I had two of the things I'd written on my little whiteboard here during like my tough period was um you can't lose if you don't quit. So I mean
Mm.
that's the biggest thing. That was one that I had written down. Another one that just came to my head is like you just need to take massive action, like despite not wanting to. That's another big one. Like throughout those 2 months that were the biggest drought, like I was down 1500 a month, and like my monthly expenses were more than that. So it's like it was really stressful, but it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I need to lock in, and like I can't lose if I don't quit, and I just need to take massive action. Those two things combined, I'll be able to get through eventually. Um, and I'd say too, like the other one that was in my head, and I think I had it on my story at one point too. It was like this is the point where most people would quit, that was like another thing that went through my mind a lot is like, I could go to like, if needed, I'll go to a 9 to 5 or something like that. But then I was like, that's essentially quitting, what I'm doing.
Mm,
So it's like, this is where most people would quit. So you just need to keep going and you'll eventually get to the reward. And, it paid off
dude,
for me. And
yeah.
I think it's not always going to be like just a 2 month period. Like I'm almost lucky that it was only a 2 month period. But it also plays into taking massive action. Like,
I
it
also
could
think
be
I, I
year
al-
or long.
yeah, 100%. I also think like hope this comes across correctly. I can say this about myself. I can
Yeah.
say my struggle period was necessary. Like I needed
Hmm.
it because of what it instilled in me and the lessons that I learned. Um, because if you can get out of that, you're going to be much more capable and able to pull out of it again. It's like, oh, this is fine. I've been through it before. Right. But if
Yeah.
you're like making money and closing deals and then all of a sudden you get hit with something and then you're going to crumble. Right.
Yeah.
I like what you said earlier too. Like you can't lose if you don't quit. There's two types of people. There's the ones that succeed and then there's the ones that quit before they do.
Hmm.
Right. The only reason you don't is because you give up too early. I know it sounds super cliche, but like, dude, it's so true. And because I've gone through those times before in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's chat about like I feel like you've learned a lot about just sales in general.
Oh yeah. 100%.
What do you think are some of the biggest principles that you've taken away of like being really good in sales calls that maybe you weren't as good at like 5, 6 months ago?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing was, for one, niching down, because I was able to be more convicted in what I was actually saying. And it wasn't like I was just speaking to this niche for the first time. So like
Yeah.
I didn't have to really lock in and understand like what they're saying and then get
You're not
distracted.
trying to learn a whole new business model now. Like you
Exactly. Yeah.
understand the model, so now it's just a matter of like what are your KPIs, like all that stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I go in. It's like I already know what they're going to tell me their struggles are. So it's like, okay, what can we do to alleviate your bottleneck and get you more leads or get you whatever their result that they want is. Um, what else I learned, I'd say, is being a lot more simple with my process. I learned, in other programs to like all these different like techniques and like I'd even just call them salesy techniques in general. And I'm not saying like objection handling, but like there's all these weird techniques that would just like flood through my mind. And then I was even told by some of my like current clients, they're like, "You're a really hard closer," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I really like like that." But that's before coming in here, and after coming in here, I've found that the more simple my process is and the more like just genuine like curiosity that I have for someone, and I'd also say like conviction in their niche and what they need, has really helped me get more sales more genuinely, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying too. That's something I've talked to a few people about. Is like they don't want to come across salesy.
Hmm.
And the first question I ask is like, okay, well, what makes you think that, right? So because there's a difference between being really good at sales and then being pushy and salesy, and I definitely like you have to understand the line.
Yeah.
Because like being pushy, like nobody likes that and it's annoying. And there's a
Yeah.
difference between being convicted and knowing what you have to offer and know that it's going to help the person
For sure.
versus maybe not, but trying to get their money anyway.
Yeah.
That's the line, right? The line is, oh, you're being really pushy or salesy. It's probably because you don't really believe in your offer, but you're just trying to get their money and you don't really believe it's going to help them.
That's exactly
Versus
how
it's like,
I.
yeah, now it's like you know what you're able to do, so it's like I'm going to close you because you need this.
Yeah.
And if I don't, then I'm costing you all this potential revenue, not this potential, all this revenue you're going to make by me not helping you, and I'm not going to let that happen for you. And it's just like a mindset shift, right?
Yeah.
But conviction is huge. Conviction in your offer. So I totally agree with you. Side question that's on that topic: how do you develop conviction? Because I think that's a whole other thing too that a lot of guys struggle with. A lot of people, it's just like they're not good at sales, they're not good at ads, they're not good at lead gen, they're not good at a lot of this stuff, and it mostly boils down to because they just don't have the conviction,
Hmm.
right? So how do you develop that? Do you think?
I think just like, I don't know, there's a lot of different ways to approach that question, but I'd say like, to be convicted, it's just you do what you say you'll do, if that makes sense, or you know that you've done it in the past, if that makes sense. So with like the online coach that I had before, I didn't think I had conviction in like the online coaches space, but then I realized, okay, I was like, okay, I helped this coach already get 160K in 2 months. What did I do for him? And then I just kind of broke each step down and was like, okay, I know exactly how I can help this person get to this result. And that for me just unlocked the conviction right there. Is like, okay, I've already done this before. So that's how I gain my conviction. But if you haven't done it before, that's a that's another thing. I think it's like, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts too on like just the conviction in general. If you haven't done something before, I
Mhm.
think it's just like, people might say that there's like imposter syndrome and stuff, but that's almost the same thing. It's like you just need to do the thing so that you can then gain the conviction. Because imposter
Yeah.
syndrome is just because you haven't done that thing before and you're claiming that you can.
Yeah. I think, how do you develop conviction? Well, look at what you've done and then pull from it. But Rich,
Yeah.
what if I haven't done anything? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, if you're starting from the
Right.
bottom, A, don't be afraid to do free work, but don't just do it for anybody. Like, make sure you do it for somebody that's qualified. That's another
Yeah.
big thing too. So many people that I'll talk to that are like, especially kind of starting out, um, they'd be like, man, I'm doing all this outreach. Nobody wants free stuff. Or like, I am doing free work. I'm not really getting results from it. It's like, okay, you still need to qualify, make sure that they're not someone that's like making $500 a month and wants
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
content. It's like, okay, you already have to have a proven offer. You should already
Yeah.
be making at least 20, 30, 40 grand a month minimum on the low end, and already be running ads, or already have proof. And then just come in and make it better. And then make sure you're both clear on, I'm doing this for free in exchange for a really good testimonial and case study from you once we inevitably deliver X result.
Yeah.
Right. So what I would say first, like assuming you're starting from scratch. Now, granted, if you're watching this and you don't have any clients, you're starting from scratch, not the best position yet to hop on a call. But enact these things first, get a couple clients under your belt, and then we can help you scale further. Read the right books, first of all, get the foundational knowledge, principally speaking. I would say, so like you're really good at video. Also get good at copywriting. So read Copywriting Secrets. Get good on just offers in general, what book am I going to recommend for that?
The $100 million offers.
$100 million offers by Alex Ramosi. $100 million leads is also a really good book. These
Yeah.
are like foundational stuff. And then also read Sell Like Crazy. Those are 4 really good books. Like just start reading those. And then also go out. You're pulling it off right now. Yeah, there is Sell Like Crazy. It's a fantastic book. I've read it twice at this point. Develop the foundational knowledge, because if you want to make money, first you guys need to understand this. You will not be able to build a sustainable business with good margins that's going to last a long time efficiently if you don't add on additional skill sets on top of just making good videos. It
Hmm.
just acknowledge that. Okay. Get good at making videos, but get good at copywriting, get good at direct response marketing, get good at like understanding ads, at least from a foundational basic perspective. Get good at business. Dude, that's another thing too, is like Ocean was talking about this actually in the mastermind in Montana. He was like, in a sales conversation, the better business owner is the one that's going to win, the one that
Yeah.
understands the KPIs, the one that understands infrastructure and what the goal is moving forward, the one that understands like, what is the bottleneck right now? Is it building the team or is it acquisition? Because most companies that don't know anything about it, they'll just be like, I need to get more clients. Like, okay, but you're booked out 6 months.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't really need that. Right. But anyway, so how do you develop conviction? Look back on what you've already accomplished. If you haven't accomplished anything, call up all your past clients and get case studies and testimonials, because you'll be surprised if you do that, call all of them up, you'd be surprised how many of them have actually gotten pretty good results. And then you take that down and then boom, there's your result, there's your case study. Now you have conviction moving forward. But if you have nothing, read the right books, go do free work in exchange for case studies and testimonials. But don't just do it for anybody. Do it for people that actually need what you have to offer. And then you build it from there. But it's like, don't expect to charge high ticket or a lot of money if you're not clear on what problem you solve. That's all it boils down to. If you're struggling to make money, it's probably because you're just not clear on the problem you solve.
Yeah. You just have to take massive action too. Because if you're not taking action, if you're not doing it every day, then it's like you might be able to do it for one day, but if you don't know how to do it for multiple days in a row, you're gonna lose out.
Massive imperfect action. Like that is the biggest thing, right? It's just like every day moving the needle forward, because I've talked to a lot of guys that like are kind of either struggling or they're not hitting the results they want to. And then when we do like a time audit, or if we like look at what they're doing on a daily basis, they're spending 80% of their time learning, but they're not implementing, they're not taking action. It's like
Hmm.
there's a big difference between working hard and feeling productive and actually being productive. And I think you do
Yeah.
a really good job at that, right? It's like even when the stars don't align, even when the script's not perfect, even when you don't know, like even when the proposal's not perfect, or like whatever, you get it, you send it anyway, you do it anyway, you go film it anyway, right? I can't tell you how many times I'll come film content and like I'm not even 100% certain what I'm supposed to talk about, but I know I got to film, so I hit record and I do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, 100%. You gotten really good at that too. Okay, let's talk about client acquisition a little bit. If you were now that where you're at now, because you have learned a lot, if you were to go back and you had like, let's say $1,000 to your name, you had no clients and you needed to get at least one more client in the next 30 days. First question is, how confident are you that you could do that?
Um, do I have clients that I can reach out to in the past, or is it only paid ads?
Let's say similar position you were in before. You got one good case study, testimonial. You're clear on who you help. You got $1,000 to your name, and let's say you're at before because you at least have some money coming in. Let's say you're doing 15, $2,000 a month coming in with one client, but you need to get
Yeah.
one more at a minimum $2,000 a month retainer within 30 days.
Yeah. So what I did was like I wrote down the like two, maybe three main things I needed to do each day, like non-negotiables. For me, that was doing like a shit ton of outreach. I don't know if you need to bleep that out or not, but like you need to do a shit ton of outreach if you don't have money to invest in ads, which is what I was doing. And I think during that period too, I was sending maybe like 100-ish messages a day across different platforms because you can only do so many on like Instagram, so many on Facebook. Like I literally try to maximize everything possible. So that's the first thing is making a list, and what that list can look like is doing, for one, outreach. Two is posting organic content, and three, if you have money for ads, doing ads. Otherwise, reaching out to your past clients slash like trying to get referrals from even like family members, like just talking to as many people as you can, and that might be in line with outreach, but
Yeah,
just talking to as many people as you can who you've already have a warm connection with, and trying to nurture that connection and just grow it essentially, and try and get more business from it.
sure. If you want to get leads, like if you want to, at the end of the day, grow the business, you're either going to pay with your time or with money, right? It's
Yeah,
one of the two. Um, if you had to pick one, what would you do?
I would probably, I mean, I'd definitely do paid ads. Now it's easy to say that I'd pick ads if I had like $1,000 to my name, and like had some money coming in, because I mean, like, of course, you can scale with ads easily,
Sure.
but knowing that I was in that position, like I don't think I would pick ads, and I didn't do ads because like it was to a point where it's like if I did run ads and like spent $1,000 over, let's say, the span of a month, and it didn't work out, like that was kind of it for me. Like I was shit out of luck, and it's like got to call it a wash there. So that's why I took massive action with just like the organic side of everything, and
Yeah.
really making sure that the one client I had, that I like try and did everything for him, made him as happy as I possibly could, because I really wanted to nurture that, not lose him. But I also wanted to, I took the time route rather than the money route. However, I'd say if you're at like the 5K a month mark, maybe a little bit higher, and you have consistent flow coming in, you have maybe a little bit of a savings built up, like just go all in on ads, but make sure you really know who you're speaking to,
Yeah.
and make sure that you are properly like doing your ads in general. Like you don't want to just be spending like, 10, $20 a day. Like that's not going to really do much for
Mhm.
you if you like, you just gotta take massive action again with that. Like it's
Yeah.
just, that's the main principle in my head, is just taking massive action.
So average customer acquisition cost within an agency space is like $1,000 to $2,000, depending on how good you are.
Yeah.
But I mean, then again, and there's also differences in like niches, and that's what's been really cool about running this program now for like 7, 8 months. Like all the data we've collected is super interesting to see, because there's guys in here that there's a couple that are specifically niche down in attorneys, and they have
Mhm.
like $300 to $500 acquisition costs through follower ads. It's
Yeah.
crazy, and it's like, and then there's like a few guys that are in the roofing space, and they're crushing with DM ads, but not follower ads. And then there's guys that are working in like the like coaching, or not coaching, but like what's the other one? Different home services, and like follower and DM ads are working, but what works the best is like lead form. So,
Yeah.
and this is like what we've built out now that's launching here in the next couple of days. Actually, I'm super excited about. That's what we're
Mm.
working on with like 2.0 is here are the top niches, like the most profitable, pick one of them. If this is the one you picked, here's your acquisition funnel. Like this is
Yeah.
what's going to work best for them, which is dope. Right. But anyway, yeah, people ask me this in Montana. They're like, and this I think is a great question. This actually make a note, editing team. Let's chop this into a reel. I think this would be really good. So if I were to start uh, from scratch and get to 10K a month within 30 days, could I do it with the video agency? My response was absolutely. And they said, okay, what would you do, assuming you have no money? Like, okay, do I still have the knowledge that I have? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. I would niche down. This is just me personally. I'm not saying you guys take this and this is what you do. This is what I would personally do based on like who I enjoy working with and my experience and all that stuff. I would either choose one of two niches. I would either work with local roofing companies, or I would work with coaches, consultants, experts, right? Just because I'd probably do the second, just because I have the most experience in doing that. But this is assuming I haven't built a coaching business yet, just agency, which I still have plenty of case studies there. But I'd probably go roofing, honestly, is probably what I would choose, just because like it interests me and I feel like I'd want to dominate like that next. So what I would do, start over, no money. Within 30 days, get to 10K a month. It's a $2,500 monthly package minimum. It's funnel assets, cold ads, and retargeting on a monthly basis to test. A mini school curriculum program that walks them through how to run ads themselves, which their marketing directors or assistants on staff are going to actually be running them. Weekly KPI reports on performance of their ads. That's like the service delivery. 4-month contract with a guarantee of we will at least double your cost per lead, or I'm sorry, cut it in half or your money back. So that's what we would do. And I would just do like lead form, send to CRM, their CRM, and then their sales reps call within 5 minutes and make sure their sales team is dialed on that. And they take it from there, assuming that they still have traditional, like the usual close rate that they usually have.
Yeah.
Also, as I'm saying this, notice how like it's important to niche, because now you understand the business model, because understanding their sales process and their sales cycle, that's a totally different sales cycle than like what a coach would use, right? With a coach, I would give them a completely different offer. That's why with like most video agencies, you don't want to just be like, yeah, we'll do short form for anyone that asks. Don't do it for roofing. It's going to waste their money. Like, no, they don't want to, it doesn't make sense to build a brand. What makes the most sense is what's going to get the most leads. So anyway, that's what I would do. $2,500 a month package minimum. I would immediately run ads. I would apply for an Amex credit card, no limit. I would spend money on ads immediately that I don't have. So I would take a big risk, but you know, at the end of the day, welcome to business. I'd go qualify. I'd get an Amex card, no limit. And then if I couldn't, or if they gave me a preset limit, I'd go qualify for 2 to 3 other ones. Put all of ad spend on there, and I just honestly make ads and do the exact same funnel that I would do for the roofing clients. And then I would just book calls, close, set appointments, close appointments. I try to get 4. Which if you go with an average customer acquisition cost of like, let's go $750 for a little bit of a cushion, do the math, $750 times 4, what is that? 3,000. So I just got to be willing to spend $3,000 to get to 10K a month. So that's what I would do. I could also go back and just do like the coaching thing that we did before, which would be a different funnel, but I think 10K a month is pretty easy when you know what to do, but it definitely takes a lot of risk. Like it's, I mean, the ability to stomach that, especially if you haven't done it before, that's the other thing too, which makes sense, right? If you haven't done it. Nolan, you bought into a few different programs. Now I know they're all, like, I'm sure they're all great. Like they got a really good reputation. I'm curious though, do you think, what are some of the biggest differences between this one and maybe some other ones that you've been a part of?
Yeah. So I'd say, and each of them were good in their own ways for sure. Like I said earlier, like they were stepping stones to where I'm at now. I'd say the biggest difference that I've seen, like bar none, is just your ability to like step in and help like immediately, and really have more of that like true one-on-one help rather than claiming that you do one-on-one help, but it really just being like maybe a 1 hour call and I can't even talk to you after that type of thing. Like that's how some of the other programs where it's like you get one, sometimes it's only like a 15-30 minute call and that's it. Like, and you can't like slack them for like immediate, I have an immediate question, but with you can, which is what I just absolutely love. And I think it's what's helped me really get out of my rut faster of my 2 month like drought, is because I was able to just like, I mean, as you know, I probably blow up your phone like 50 times a day with my questions. But the reason why I do that is because, you immediately respond, but it also like, it allows me to act faster on what I need to do, and not have to wait a day or 2 or 3 of like, when I have a question, I can just immediately get feedback.
Yeah. Cool, man. I think we'll end it with another big question here. So I think some of the biggest takeaways we've gotten from this so far is like niching down, but not just niche down, but like practical application, like how to go about doing it. Because I think if you can just get that, like if you can get clear on who you help, how you help them, and what you help them accomplish, that alone is going to help tremendously. Like I think that's one of, if not the biggest bottlenecks most people have. So get clear on who you help and what problem you solve, right? That's the biggest thing. And then, yeah, when it comes to like running ads, this is a random question too. A lot of people ask is like, well, do I have to run the ads for them? Yeah, at the beginning I would do it. But here's the thing. Ads are a lot more simplistic now than they used to be. Like media buyers are not as needed as they used to be. It used to be like performance of ads used to be like 20% creative and then 80% targeting. Now it's flipped. Like if you have good creative, that's going to do the targeting for you with how the algorithms work. And then it's just a matter of setting up the ad.
Yeah.
So if you get clear on who you help and then understand how their ads, like how their funnel works, and then help them run it for themselves on a simplistic level, right? So do it for them first. Then you can document how you did that for them, put it into Loom trainings, make a little mini program. And then moving forward, you just go, cool, we're going to make all the assets for you. We're going to help you with scripting them. We're going to film them. We're going to deliver them. And then here's also a document or here's a training program on how you guys can then run them and implement them for yourselves. And then it's just a bunch of recordings of you doing it for somebody else, right? So then they
Yeah.
can just do it themselves because it's really not that difficult. And then one offer, get clear on one offer, right? Like once you find that niche, don't be like custom, because if you do custom stuff all the time, it's going to be hard to scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
So figure out what are the 2 to 3 core offers for X niche to deliver Y outcome, and then just sell those. That's the biggest thing. It's like if I were to do it again, it would be one offer, one avatar, one service delivery, one price point. Like that's what I would do. It's like here's the price, here's the outcome. This is what we do for everyone. Copy paste.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I digress. So knowing what you know now, knowing who's watching this, maybe some other guys that are in a similar position as where you were not too long ago, they're struggling to get more clients. That's probably the biggest bottleneck. They don't really know how or what path to take. Maybe they're watching a bunch of YouTube videos, but they still don't have clarity on what to do. What would you say to that person?
I'd say first, make sure, it's been a common theme is to actually take action and not just learn. Because no matter how much you learn and all these different strategies that you're going to learn from people that you might be looking up on YouTube, from coaches, mentors, whoever it is, if you're not actually trying to do that for an extended period of time, not just like 2 days, you're not going to get anywhere because like you're not giving it the time that it needs. So that's the biggest thing. The second I'd say is while you're taking that massive action, make sure you're actually tracking it because then it's not massive action if you're not tracking it. I'd say that's a really crucial thing. And that's something I learned from you too. I was not tracking anything at all. And now I track essentially like everything besides like my time on what I do day to day. Cause I'm usually pretty good with that, but on like how much outreach I'm doing, how much I'm spending on ads, all of the responses I've had, like all that stuff I track. And that's also what's helped me like discover what my biggest bottleneck is. And most of the time it's like, my initial message might not be that good, or maybe it's my follow-up sequence isn't that good, or whatever it might be. You can really unlock what your bottleneck is and then just fix it.
Yeah,
So
that's huge. Like, and I think that's another really big downfall too of a lot of guys. And I can say this because it was also mine. Back when I was especially starting out, is making emotionally based decisions instead of data backed decisions. I
yeah,
think like guys are notorious for that, especially in the creative space, because like notoriously most of us are creatives at heart and not business owners. Luckily, I'm a business owner at heart. I really believe that. I just happen to be good at
yeah,
making really awesome videos at the
yeah,
same time. I think
yeah,
you're in the same boat. Like, but you have to start making data back decisions because it's one thing to be like, oh, I'm going to try this strategy. Maybe try it a little bit and be like, it doesn't work. Instead of knowing why it didn't work and what exactly about it didn't work, and then pivoting from there. Because like I've had calls with a lot of guys, and they're like, yeah, I've done. There's one guy. Oh yeah, so he ran ads. He was like, I tried running ads, but they don't work, and I don't want to do it again. I was like, okay, what were your KPIs? And he was like, what is that? And I was like, your key performance indicators. Like what funnel were you running? And like what were your KPIs? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, so
yeah,
let's go look at it. And I literally told him, I was like, pull up your ads manager. And they were just simple lead forms. And I was like, okay. So we got 20 leads off of, these aren't the actual numbers, I'm using for math's sake. You got 20 leads off of like $1,000 in ad spend. That's atrocious. First of all, shouldn't be that bad, but let's assume it is, right? So that's what, $50 per lead,
mm-hmm.
$50 leads. Like, okay, cool. So $50 leads. Of all those 20 leads, how many of them showed up to a call? It's like one. Okay. So what does that tell you? It's either A, the ad doesn't qualify as well as it does, or as well as it should. So you're getting a lot of really low quality leads. 2, you're not calling them fast enough, right, to set an appointment. Usually those are like the two biggest things. So by understanding what the specific bottleneck is, we can then go, okay, it's one of these two things we need to solve. Then you make that small tweak and pivot, look at the new data coming in, and it's either fixed or it's not. Then you go make the other tweak, right? But by doing that, you're able to actually be productive. And then it becomes formulaic, right? That's the idea, is like business should be formulaic. It should be data backed. It shouldn't be all business. Like when it comes to
Yeah.
lead gen, lead nurture, sales, fulfillment, and retention. So anyway, yeah, that makes sense, dude. Is there anything else that you would say, like if you would do differently starting out, aside from like tracking your data, and what was the one you said before?
I like tracking data, and taking action on the stuff that you're learning and not
Yeah,
just learning. But
yeah,
I'd
for sure.
also say too, like the big thing with tracking your own KPIs and really understanding that, like, and how to fix your own KPIs is that you can use all of that knowledge for when you're on sales calls and discovery calls with clients. And I'd say that's how I was able to close one of my most recent clients, is because I like deep dove so far into all of his metrics and like fully unpacked, like, he wanted to go from X number to Y number. It's like, okay, what are we doing right now? What's the biggest bottleneck? How do we alleviate that? What are your metrics on,
Mm.
the people coming in? What's your show up? Because he has people coming into his office. So it's like, what's your walk in to sign ratio? How do we increase that? How do we decrease your ad spend so we can get more
Ooh,
people in? All that stuff. So it's like, once you really understand that, for one, it's way easier to sell it because it's like you don't need to guess on what you're offering to them. It's like, for sure that when you do this, it's going to help them, get more money or just alleviate their bottleneck in general. But also in their eyes, they see you more as an expert and have more trust in you. So you don't need to be a hard, sleazy salesman in any sort of way if that's what you're like,
yeah.
uncomfortable with doing of like selling. Like you have to sell, but there's a way to do it in a genuine, authentic, wanting to help that person type of way.
Yeah, dude, that's huge too. That's huge. Like everything you just said there. Um, on that note, how important would you say is it for you to practice what you preach as a videographer? Like if you're selling short form content, how important is it for them to also be doing short form content for their own brand?
Yeah, I'd say it's like a non-negotiable at this point, honestly, because it's like, if you're a video marketing, whatever company you are, like if you aren't doing what you do for others, how are they going to trust you and see you as any credible source? It's like, if I'm not trying to build my own personal brand, why would somebody come to me on personal branding advice? It's like, it
Yep.
just doesn't make sense.
I remember when this was probably like 4 years ago. It was when I was kind of starting out. I was in a sales call and the person asked me, they're like, so you talk about how important it is to like build a personal brand. Like why don't you have one? And I was like,
Yeah,
stunned. I was like, I I didn't know what to say, right? So if you're
yeah,
gonna preach about how important it is to either build a personal brand, install like really good top of funnel, or like have a really good brand message video on a website, like or do really good lead form ads, like you better be doing that thing yourself really well,
yeah,
because then it becomes easy. It's like you want to develop conviction, either go do it for other people or just do it for yourself. Right.
yeah,
It's like, then people ask, well, why should I trust you? Well, why are you here on this call right now? Because you went through my marketing, like you went through my
yeah,
funnel and then you landed on this call. So that's huge too. It's like practice what
yeah,
you preach and be clear on what problem you solve, and then solve that problem for yourself too. You know what I mean?
100%.
Cool. Well, this was solid, dude. Thank you so much for your time. I think this is great. Is there anything else you'd want to add, or anything else that comes to mind? Like people that are watching this right now?
Um, I would just say, like, resorting back to one of my little quotes, even if it's cliche, is like, if you're at that drought, or if like you're at that point where it's like you don't think anything is going to work, just have in the back of your mind, like, this is when most people would quit. And the way that you're going to not be one of those people is to just keep going and just keep doing the work.
Hell yeah, dude. I love it. Now, last thing, shameless plug. Anyone that's maybe considering jumping in the program, what would you say to them, honestly?
Um, I mean, to be completely frank, I would first understand what you want to do with your business. Um, if you don't want to massively grow, if you don't want to do like, if you don't want to lock in, what your messaging is, all that type of stuff. If you want to just like have it as a hobby, float by, whatever it might be, I wouldn't jump in. But if you want to like actually take action, you actually want to learn stuff, and you really want to just grow both mentally and in your business, then I'd absolutely have a call with you.
Love it, dude. Thank you so much. Nolan, I appreciate it, dude. Thank you so much for hopping on. And yeah, if you guys watching have any additional questions, don't hesitate to hit me up in the DMs. Until next time, we'll see you guys. Thanks, bro.